I understand we have the minister on the line, Eric Girard, Quebec's finance minister. Minister, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let me begin with a couple of things here. I know you highlighted healthcare and education as two priorities in this budget, but then the question becomes, from what I can understand, you're increasing spending in healthcare by about 4.3%, but over the last 5 years, that increase has averaged over 7%. So what happened there?
A lot of things. What happened in the previous 5 years? A pandemic.
Okay.
So that raised the level of spending, and now we have some things in the healthcare sector that we thought was temporary and that is now permanent. For example, the vaccination clinic or the equipment, the PPE that we now need to carry. So and we always need to be careful with growth rate on an annual basis because there's a lot of moving parts. For example, we're showing an increase of 9% in education this year. It's great. 9% is fantastic. In all honesty, it's more like 7% because we had some expense that did not occur last year because of the strike, and if you lower the previous year, well, therefore you're increasing the growth rate in the following year. So we need to be careful with growth rate. Overall, the previous 5 year expense grew in healthcare sector by 7%, in the education sector by 6.6%. But we need to remember that in these previous 5 years, there was a pandemic that had some impact on the level of spending.
Although people will point to the fact that even pre-pandemic, this budget is still worse than we had pre-pandemic. So if we factor out the pandemic, how do we deal with that?
I'm not sure. When I do a budget, there's a lot of critics, so I'm not sure which critics you're referring to. So what is exactly your concern?
The question would have been, if we're looking, and the Premier went on about this today, because when we saw the number $11 billion deficit, people said that's a record deficit. We've never had one that big. And then you heard, I don't know if you heard the Premier this morning during a scrum say, well, it's really not $11 billion. It's only $8.8 billion.
Yeah, okay. So in Quebec, we have the most conservative definition of fiscal balance. It is after we contribute $3 billion to what we call the generation fund in order to reduce debt. So what he's saying is that the $11 billion of deficit is really $8.8 billion of deficit, which is 1.5% of GDP, because the economy is bigger today than it was in the past. So 1.5% of GDP, 8.8 billion, which is the equivalent of the numbers you will hear from BC, for example, or Ontario, the same accounting basis, or the federal government, is too high at $8.8 billion, 1.5% of GDP. But it's actually less than BC, and we'll see what Ontario comes out with. What's really important, and the main message of this budget, is that our public healthcare, our public school, need to deliver access and quality of services that are expected by our citizens. To do that, we're investing in our human resources, in our personnel, but we're also reforming governance. We're also doing technological change. We're also having some what we call a dashboard, performance dashboard, governance changes, infrastructure spending. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to happen gradually, but our public service need to improve.
Let me bring up a couple of points that critics have already sort of reacted to after the budget yesterday. Number one, and I got a text from a listener earlier when I was talking about this. She said she would have liked something in the budget to help young people buy a house in this city, in Montreal. What's in the budget to help anybody who wants to buy a new house?
Nothing, because this budget is about healthcare and education. And with respect to buying a house, with the federal government, we created a program called the CELIAP, where your savings are tax deductible and your return are non-taxable up to $40,000, and that was created about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, but is just now in place for a year ago. So there is a continuity in government. We cannot create a new program every budget.
Let me move on and ask about something else. Chambre de Commerce, I read Michel Leblanc complaining about the fact there's really nothing in here for small business, and we know how much they're hurting already, so highly taxed. Why was there nothing in here to help small business owners?
I disagree with Michel Leblanc. Michel is, I believe, is really focused on Montreal. When we help the forest industry, when we help the agricultural industry, these are all small businesses. We have the aerospace, the aluminum industries. We do a lot for businesses, and some of that is for small businesses. I think Michel is probably referring to a one tax credit that he would have liked enhanced, and we did not do that.
Okay. Then we have municipal mayors, and Valérie Plante among them, criticizing this budget and basically saying that the government, your government, doesn't care about public transit because there's no new money in here and there's already an over $500 million deficit in the system. Why nothing for public transit?
Because there are ongoing negotiation and discussion about the funding of public transit. There's also external audit that are being done, and there will be further discussion. When these discussions are completed, we will respond present and have some sums available.
It was also brought up yesterday, Minister, about 187, I may have the numbers off by a little bit, but $190 million for protection of the French language, some cultural investments there, but only 120 some odd million for climate change. Why the discrepancy there?
Because most of what we do for climate change is in the what we call the Plan pour une économie verte, or the Green Fund, and that's capitalized with $9.3 billion for 5 years.
Okay. But
so you're looking at what's additional in this year budget, but the Green Fund is funded from the revenues from the carbon exchange, and we're expecting this to total $9.3 billion over 5 years, and that's an increase of 36% in 3 years. So
okay.
We're doing a lot.
Let me go back to education. I read a story in La Presse yesterday afternoon saying that your government saved more than $500 million in wages during the teacher strike. Yep. Yet you've invested $300 million in that school catch-up plan. Where's the other $260 million? Why not put that money back into that system?
It will. Like I said, we started this discussion by saying that the 9% increase took into account the fact that we didn't spend $500 million.
Okay, so by not spending that money to begin with, by saving the money because there was a teacher strike, you consider that part of the budget? No,
we did not spend the $500 million. So there were strikes. Certainly not my decision. We did not spend. And now, in this year budget, we have a 9% increase that is way beyond the savings associated with the strike.
Okay, so that money is in there. Let me ask you this as well. I know part of what you said yesterday, you're looking for over $1 billion to come from Hydro Law of Quebec, the SQDC, what you call optimization efforts, which suggests to me at least that either these organizations are going to have to make cuts or raise prices, which means at the end of the day, taxpayers are the ones ultimately footing the bill here, no?
Not necessarily. In terms of L'Auto-Québec, I think we can certainly catch some market share from illegal operator in online gaming, for example.
Okay. Is this a big part of the problem now in Quebec? There's so much online gaming that's stealing money from Auto Quebec?
Have you watched a hockey game recently on an English channel? Mm-hmm. There are lots of illegal...
illegal in Quebec?
Yes, correct.
Why not simply go ahead and make a deal with those people and take a percentage of what they do and collect that money as well? Why should that all be Lotto Quebec's money?
Because do you think these people have the same social responsibilities as Lotto Quebec?
Well, I think you could certainly create a regulation that suggests they would have to pay so much if they're doing business in Quebec. You do with other things.
Okay, so you...
I'm just suggesting it. I mean, when I see you want optimization from Lotto Quebec, I think to myself, what does that mean? It's going to cost more to buy a Lotto ticket?
It means capturing market share from illegal operators in Quebec.
I don't want to run out of time, and I do appreciate your time.
Do I understand from you that you do not support that?
I support Lotto Quebec. I just think if all these other services seem to be doing so well across the rest of the country and money is going to the federal government, I would guess, they're not keeping all the money, why can't we at least consider doing the same in Quebec?
Well, there is an experiment right now in Ontario where they decided to give licensing to private operators. Mm-hmm. The jury is still out on how much money the government will make off that, and whether these private operators are operating under the same social responsibility that we need for social reasons.
So you're waiting to see how
I don't know. Have you watched the segment on 60 Minutes on online sports gaming?
I
in
have
the U.S.?
No, I have not. But I was going to.
They do not have the same social responsibility as Lotto Quebec.
Is it fair to suggest that you'd like to see how that experiment in Ontario turns out first before deciding one way or the other?
In Quebec, we've already made a choice. The gaming industry is the sole responsibility of Lotto Quebec.
Okay. One other question. You're estimating, I know, that an increase in the price of cigarettes, we talked about that, $2 a carton now, another $2 in a year from now, will generate something like $300 million.
Over 5 years, so $60 million a year.
To which people pointed out, is that even reasonable when you consider that hiking the price and the price of cigarettes keeps going up and up and up, people will simply go buy their cigarettes on the reserve or somewhere else, and that's not money the government can expect to recoup?
When we do price sensitivity analysis, our taxes are lowered in Ontario, and the reason we increase 2 times $2 rather than, for example, 1 time $8 is that we think that these 2 times $2 will not impact the behavior of or the contraband. What would be the right word for that?
Yeah, that's fine. Contraband, yeah.
So we think that by doing a small increment like this, we're not increasing contraband.
Bon, last question. Was there ever consideration, this was a story a couple of weeks ago, to get the money back that we were paying the LA Kings to come to Quebec City after Salt Lake City decided to do it for free? Are we getting our money back? Could we get our money back?
How far is Salt Lake City from LA?
Don't know.
It's a fly-in, fly-out.
Okay.
So the Kings will take a flight in the morning.
Yeah. Why don't we just pay
some player? They'll come back.
Why don't we just pay for their airfare then, if that's the case? Fly them in, fly them out.
Okay, but they're coming here to play 2 games the last week of the season, so they will have their full lineup, and they will do public practice, and they'll be here for a week. And I've had the opportunity to talk about this many times. We built a hockey rink, a stadium for NHL game. There hasn't been an NHL event in this building since 2017 or 18. The taxpayer paid $400 million, which is probably worth $600 million by now by today's dollar. And nothing has happened since 2017, 2018. So we decided to promote this building. And from the reaction of it, I understand that people do not want us to mix professional sport with public funding, and that message is understood loud and clear. But with respect to canceling it, as you're suggesting, I can't do that because we signed a contract.
Okay. We will leave it at that. I mean, I wish I could say this, and I know you look at it this way, Mr. Girard, as an investment to maybe eventually get an NHL team back to Quebec City. But if you look at the list of teams or cities that the NHL is considering, you'll find Salt Lake City number 1 and Quebec City number 5 on that list. So I'm not sure how much that
And
investment
so
will really
are
make.
you suggesting that we should give up?
No, I'm suggesting that I don't think this is the most effective way to spend $7 or $8 million of taxpayers' money. But you and I can just choose to disagree.
I don't disagree with you. I took that feedback already. As I said, we've signed the contract. The event will take place. People will be able to judge the quality of the event after it happened.
Understood.
Right now, the event has not happened. Let's wait and see.
Okay. Again, I do appreciate your time, seriously, and I want to thank you so much.
And I'll be back.
Hope
Please
we can
invite
speak
me again.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Eric Girard, Quebec Finance Minister.